Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Selassie I represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
Yo! Blazing fire, yeah man, this is Racindio out of Belize. And the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. Right? Yeah man. We blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Racindio said that. Blazing fire, lion boy.
The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
Yo, this is Vagabonds and time have come for the lion to tell them own story. This is the lion's voice. Stay tuned.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
Now drop your guard when it come to them, ya youth, ya. Them fully guard up and them quick fi execute, ya. Now drop your guard when it come to them, ya youth, ya. The one will laugh, I'm same one of the shooter. Watching them, this is Rasta Jai representing for the Lion Voice Network. This is the time when the lion gets to tell our own story. Haile Selassie.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
This is culture sound, a Rastaman sound, positive sound.
Culture sound system with DJ Culture Fire TG.
Well, now you're in tune to the culture sound, Rasta sound.
Culture sound because of DJ Culture Fire TG.
And I help coming from the true living eyes, Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, who created Zion and earth. He shall not suffer and I foot to be moved. I hold, he that keepeth Ethiopia shall neither slumber nor sleep. Well, youths in the streets right now, riots in your town now, Babylon them burning down. One bad police right now, riots in your town now, Babylon them burning down. No justice, no peace right now, riots in your town now, Babylon them burning down. The fire now cease right now, riots in your town now, Babylon them burning down. The youths them rise against brutality, man a kill another man for your salary. Them train them at the shooting gallery, black and loot, you might lose all your family. Them defend white supremacy, so them see the African as them enemy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say culture sound
like this for centuries, them sick mentally. That's why we have the out in the streets right now. Riots in your town now, Babylon them burning down. One bad police right now.
What do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. Elected himself. Where's rightful ruler? Hey yo! Yeah, hail them high, hail the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide. Still, them couldn't kill. The lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight at it.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziro Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka the Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live, a special edition. This is a pop-up edition. Tomorrow, we're going to be reasoning with Ras Big Mill about the reggae, Rastafari, the music business, our regular edition. But this is a special impromptu. I told you on Saturday, if you saw Saturday's episode, Who is Rastafari? We talked about some of the achievements made by a young Rastafari and looking at the man, you know, what he represents in the earth. And I told you I was trying to get a special guest. And because this is Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media, meaning we own it, we don't have to go through no middleman. Once I found him, we lock in and we are having an impromptu episode. That is how much I love the King of Kings, and that is how much I love the Lion Pride. Big up the Lion Pride. You know, I don't see the 4 or the 5 people who sit through the intro, you know, who drop the comments, show the love. Don't see my brethren, Freeway Dread, Lion Pride, and Patreon checking in from early. Those are the things that keep I going. That love is what make I man do what I'm doing. Because if I didn't get the energy forward from this growing community, I would not be able to find the time. I do have a hard stop tonight. I have a call, a very important meeting, so we can't go long. So we're gonna go straight into the topic and the juiciness. I'm not gonna do the big, you know, Patreon, this and that. Just support the thing if you can support the thing. We are the fastest growing Rastafari platform on the planet. We did pass 27,000 since the last time we went live. We were at 26,000. We're already at 27,300 plus. So we'll probably, you know, hit 28,000 before next Saturday, Lion Voice. And it's because the people, you know what I mean, are showing that energy. The word sound is getting out there, and with the craziness in the world, people are looking for that refuge. And on this platform, we say unity does not mean uniformity. So we give you the full breath of the Rastafari family, from the brethren them where I say Kemet, to the ones where I say Yeshua, to our Yesos Christos. We do EWF, Naya Bingi, Bobo Shanti, 12 Tribe of Israel, Orthodox, all those voices, we bring them on this platform. And tonight, I do have a brethren from the Naya Bingi house, and we're going to talk about Rastafari. We're going to talk about 1916 to 1928. We're going to go in depth. This is part one. This brethren is one of the most knowledgeable brethren I know in terms of the history of Rastafari, particularly the early part of the reign. So this is why I wanted to have this reasoning with him. We have these reasonings all the time behind the scenes, but I want to bring it to a public forum, because we're going to discuss, should this day be part of the calendar in terms of Isla days. We want this to be one of the days, just like coronation, just like His Majesty Earthstrong, September 27th, when His Majesty received the notice that he would become Ras, and then today the actual crowning that took place. We want these added to the calendar. So we're going to have that reasoning tonight. I guess tonight he's an archivist. He's an etymologist. He's a Rastologist. We can find out or get a name there. And he has so many documents. In part two, we'll go over some of the documentation. But today we just want to set the framework, because I do have a hard stop, 8:30. So we just want to, again, jump in. So Lion Pride, help I to give a warm Lion Pride welcome to Nigos Kamaal Atu. Welcome the brethren in the comments. Let us know where you're coming in from. Again, welcome the brethren. You know what I mean? Blessing.
Isis I.
Isis.
Imperial Majesty. Kamaal, we Haile Selassie. Nagus.
Blessing.
Yes,
So
brethren. It's an honor.
the eyes on the, yes, sir. The eyes on the phone.
Yes, sir. I was trying to get the laptop going, but it's
okay.
wasn't working.
Hold it like this. Hold it like this. Can you put it like this?
Oh, this way.
Yeah, and then make
Okay,
sure you have on the auto rotate. Make sure you have on the auto rotate. We're just working out some technical difficulties. We've been trying. See that?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We've been trying to work out. I have the long intro so that we can work out the technical difficulties sometimes we have with the guests. So there's a method to everything you see on the Lion Voice. So we give thanks. Welcome, King. Please just introduce the self and give us a little bit of the history.
Yes, my name is Negus Kamaal Atu. I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York, born and raised, and my mother is from Jamaica. My father is from Costa Rica, hails from Limon, Costa Rica, and my mother's from Clarendon, Jamaica. And they moved to America, I think it was in the late 60s. My mother moved to Harlem, my father moved to Brooklyn. They connected, of course, and had me and my siblings, not in New York City, but I was eventually, obviously, born upstate in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is like an hour north of the Bronx. And my mother and father were not necessarily, how you say, Rastafari, but they knew the roots, they knew the culture. When my mother was in college, I remember she told me years ago that she wrote a paper in the 70s on Rastafari. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to keep it. Her professor kept it. My father was in the Rastafari, I would say in the 70s, but he was more into the soccer movement, the football movement. My father was going to be a professional football player in the 1970s, even training with Pele. So my father met up with Bob Marley when he was kicking ball in Flatbush Avenue at Prospect Park. And I guess he was inspired to learn more of Rastafari. I used to play Bob Marley's music growing up. I remember listening to that, Mighty Diamonds and Burning Spear. My father used to play some of that music back in the 80s. But Bob Marley really stuck to Iris, you know? And I love Peter Tosh. And that music kind of inspired I. And listening to hip hop, conscious hip hop in the 80s and the 90s, made me want to focus more on not really consciousness of human rights, but black rights and also eating healthy. One group in particular, like Dead Prez, they focus on black rights, but also eating healthy. And me listening to Wu-Tang Clan, especially Killer Priest, that's what really influenced me to be more focused on our people. And I remember when I was in high school, I went to a predominantly Caucasian school about an hour and a half north of New York City. And me, my siblings being almost the only black youths in that school, made me want to start an after school program back in the 90s, you know, not to, you know, step on any other race, but it was for black and Latino students to come together. We called it Shades. That was back in 1996. And in college, when I went to college, I went to Shaw University. I met with a lot of conscious people, a lot of Kemetic, Rastafari, Moorish Science Temple. And it was some students from Virgin Islands in my last year that was putting me onto a group called Midnight, you know. Now, I didn't absorb all the energies right away, the word sound and all that, until like a couple years later. But what pushed me more into Rastafari is when I was growing up, my Nati, when I was in college, I stopped eating meat, had Nati, and my uncle was the president of the school I went to in North Carolina. And he saw my Nati at his retirement party. I was leaving a radio program that I was hosting. And I went across the street and I went to honor my grand uncle, my grandmother's younger brother, who was the president of Shaw. May he rest in peace, you know. But I say this because this is university. When he saw my locks at his retirement party, he didn't want me to stay at the school. So he tried to push me out. He fired me from the radio station. He tried to get financial aid away from me, but I had to hide on the campus. And when I hid on the campus, I was not working at the radio station no more, unfortunately. I couldn't get any financial aid, so I had to hide on the campus to take my classes. So as I'm sitting in a dorm room, burning my herb, listening to Bob Marley CDs, you know, things weren't downloading at that time. So as I'm listening to Bob Marley's music, I remember growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and I always listened to Bob Marley, but now it's really hitting me because I'm being persecuted for my Nati and his family on top of that. So I'm listening to Bob Marley's music and the song One Drop, like give us the teachings of his majesty, but we don't want no devil philosophy. So it made me think he's not talking about Jesus Christ. He has to be talking about somebody else. Then the song Ride Nazi Ride, the song, what's the other song? Babylon System, those songs, when I heard those two songs, through what I was going through, it really woke up my mind, you know? And I graduated. I had to hide on the campus. I graduated, and that's what really pushed me more into Rastafari. And when I went to the computer lab, yeah, obviously before I graduated, when I went to the computer lab, I typed in I typed in Bob Marley, the song War, and I hit enter. Because the song War, the lyrics was really impacting me, made me think, why doesn't this song rhyme? Why don't the lyrics rhyme? But it's so powerful. It didn't sound like it was coming from Bob Marley's soul. So I went to the computer lab, I typed in War, typed in Bob Marley, I hit enter, and the image of His Imperial Majesty came up. But it wasn't the picture that we all think is the coronation picture. It was the second coronation, when the emperor was crowned as Negus, when he had the green sash over him. And when I saw that image, like a cosmic energy, I remember looking at the computer in the computer lab, and I really remember that day. And this cosmic energy like went in me and out me at the same time. Like, you know how people say they get the Holy Ghost and all that? Like something really happened. And it's like all the information that I knew, it just was sourced from this person. And I realized this is not some average person. And I remember going to church, and then I'm reading the title. It says King of Kings and Lord of Lords and Conquering Lion of the Tribe of Judah. But when it said formerly known as Rastafari, I'm like, oh my gosh. So all those reggae songs I'm listening to, this is the person that they're talking about.
Okay.
So I'm thinking,
Connection.
how come no one's talking? Say it again.
No, I said connection. Everything started to connect.
Oh, cool. Yes, sir. I thought you were saying the bad connection, like you couldn't hear I.
No.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So that was it. And from that point on, I wanted to know more about this person named Emperor Haile Selassie the First. You know, me going to the church at the time, it said he's the 225th descendant of King Solomon and Sheba. And I remember reading that in the Bible and hearing about that at Sabbath school, and I'm thinking, wait a second, if he's the descendant, that means he has to be mentioned in the Bible, has to be mentioned. So I went to Jamaica for the first time that same year I went to college. I finished college, and I went like 3 or 4 other times after that. But the first 2 times, I ran into 1 or 2 Rastafari, but they couldn't really teach me much. I guess maybe they weren't fully into it. Maybe they couldn't present themselves. But it was when I moved to Brooklyn, then I realized, wait, this is where I can get a lot of information. So I got a lot of information from Rastafari people like Dr. Biddy. Then I found out that a cousin of mine that's actually Rastafari. His name is Dr. Ross ESP. Mike check.
Yes.
Can you hear
You
me?
cut out a little bit. Say it one more time. This is an important part.
Okay.
You're giving family lineage. Say it again.
Okay, I don't know if you heard me because my phone just froze. My bad.
Yes, say it one more time. You're saying about your family.
Yeah,
You're about to let us know who's your family.
Mike check. All right, you just went out real quick, Kwasi. You're right?
Yeah. No, I'm saying you were about to let us know who
Okay.
your family is. So let us know.
Yes. Yeah, and I met up with Dr. Ross ESP McPherson, who wrote over 70 books on a study that he coined. I think he coined it in the 80s. I know it wasn't the 90s, at least the 90s. And it's called Rastaology. And Rastaology is the study of not just it is the study of Rastafari, but everything that's associated. That means the emperor. That means African history. That means cosmology when it comes to the Dogon tribe. That means everything dealing with Black culture, but showing and proving that its connection to not only Ethiopia, but especially His Imperial Majesty. So it deals with Kush, Kemet, numerology, etymology, ontology, everything. All those ologies come under Rastaology, right? And I remember when I met him on Malcolm X Boulevard and 128th Street when I was coming from the EWF conventional meetings in 2006, right? I'll never forget that night. And then when he told me his last name is McPherson, I was like, McPherson, that's my mother's last name, maiden last name. Think nothing about it. And I told him about it, and he said it could be a possibility because he's from Clarendon and my mother's from Clarendon.
Yes.
But I think he's like maybe a 20-30 minute drive away where she's from. And then fast forward to 2010, my mother was in Harlem at that time, and she drove down for my sisters, and she came to 125th Street. I said, "Ma, you got to meet up with Dr. Ross McPherson." And when she came, both of them confirmed that we have to be related. You know, just looking at each other's ears and everything. You know, and they were talking about family and everything. They confirmed that. So I say that to say because I feel honored to know that I believe this is the 3rd or 4th relative I have that is of Rastafari. But to know that it's an elder that was in great works, you know. And unfortunately, Dr. Ross ESP McPherson passed away about 2 or 3 months after he got his doctorate degree here in New York, which is very unfortunate because Mic check, you hear me?
We're hearing
Okay.
the eye.
Yeah, it just froze up on my end. My bad. All right. Yeah. So, which is unfortunate because that same year in 2012, we were going to work on Dr. McPherson, and this has to be known to the world, to the masses, that Dr. McPherson, ESP McPherson, was in the process of getting a building in Harlem, and each floor was going to be committed to a different pro-black or spiritual or political economic group, but as long as it's all black. So like one floor would have been Rastafari, another floor would have been Nation of Islam, another floor would have been Nation of Gods and Earth, next floor maybe Hebrew Israelites, of course if they can unify and work right with our people and all people. And then next floor will be Kemetic, and unfortunately he didn't see that. It never happened. He passed away that summer of 2012 during that hot it was like a heat wave appearance in the summer, and some people think that's what it was, but you know, some other people think it might have been other things, you know. And
serious. So I wanna we have limited time tonight, so I want to get
yeah.
right into the topic. Who is Rastafari?
Yes,
Talk to us about who is Rastafari according to your study, you know, coming from the Dejazmatch. First set the stage about what happened to lead to the crowning of Rastafari September 27th, and then what happened on February 11th, and just paint a picture of who is Rastafari.
All right. Now, give thanks to His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Ethiopia, Kamaal Haile Selassie, Nagus Nagas, it's Ethiopia, alongside with Her Imperial Majesty, Ategemen and Asifa. His Imperial Majesty, Kamaal Haile Selassie, was crowned 3 times. In Rastafari, we tend to think or celebrate only one crowning. That crowning that we tend to celebrate is obviously, I can't even say one is more important because they all 3 are important. But the final coronation, when Rastafari became Emperor Haile Selassie I, that's the one that most people know, because 72 nations bowed down to the emperor. But the emperor wouldn't be the emperor without being king, which is Negus. Wouldn't have been Negus or king without being Ras. Now, we know His Imperial Majesty, as Lij Tafari, was born in 1892 in Ejerso Goro. His first title is Lij, which means royal boy, royal youth. And in 1905, wait, correct me, Dejazmatch Kwasi, it's 1905 or 06 when he became Dejazmatch?
06, I believe.
06, give thanks. He became Dejazmatch Tafari after his father, Ras Makanen, gave him that honor, not a privilege, but a privilege and a noble honoring to get him closer to the throne of Ethiopia. And sorry, that's my little lions. They wanna come in here. So yeah. I was just gonna get ready to mention them too, of course, about my I journey. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll bring the eye forward to get the eye full story, and you go into the Lion Voice time machine. But tonight, through we have limited time, we want to get straight to the topic. Go forward. Continue.
So yes, I give thanks. So Rastafari, after he became Dejazmatch, he became Rastafari. But we need to know when he became Rastafari, where it happened, how it happened, and why. I forgot the source. I need to find it. But there was a source I was reading that the Ottoman Empire, who was connected to the Germans, right? And this is the beginning of World War I. Today, ancient, old times, they called it the Great War, but now we call it World War I. Now, in 1915 or 14, the Germans were sending spies to come into Ethiopia. He was sending them to go up on the side of Somalia, and then obviously to go into Ethiopia to mislead Lij Yasu. Lij Yasu was being how do you say, manipulated to work with the Ottoman Empire.
And when we say the Ottoman Empire, we're talking about modern day Turkey, for those who are not familiar. So these are the Ottoman Turks. And They were waving the flag of Islam or greater Islam. They've always been one of the most powerful of the Islamic nation. And because of the importance of Harar, they controlled Harar for a 10-year span when they were also in control of Egypt. And so they had, they had a lot of interest in Ethiopia. Continue, King.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear I continue?
Sorry, I have to do housekeeping, So when the Ottoman Empire was having these spies come into Ethiopia, these individuals teamed up with Dejazmatch to try and take over the throne.
You're going to be one of those knights, family. We're working with the Wi-Fi. Be patient with
being
us.
a
All right.
Judeo-Christian empire to be a Muslim empire.
Then I used to learn one day.
Right. And Dejazmatch was being given up to make him. Dejazmatch was encouraged to be Rastafari, the knowledge of England and of Christianity and all, but also their politics. He studied French, so he had a strong connection with the French government. Because of this, that's what made the soldiers, and then the priests joined in. The priest said that the Dejazmatch Tafari has to be Rastafari, and the reason for that is because they know that his bloodline is linked to King Solomon. So all these qualities, whether if it's of his accomplishments, and also because he's born to rule, both of them together, they came together and said we have to have the Dejazmatch Tafari become Rastafari, and that was September 29th. No, excuse me, September 27th. They came to that conclusion. September 27th is when they came up with that idea, and 2 days later, on September 29th, they proclaimed it to the entire empire of Ethiopia. They went on the balcony in a Gibi, and they looked over, and they said, the Dejazmatch Tafari, I'm paraphrasing, is now known as Rastafari. So that's Proclamation Day, a day I personally feel that should be celebrated by Rastafari and even Pan-African people, So
yes,
I think that I think that's very important, because by His Imperial Majesty, or at that time His Imperial Highness Rastafari, becoming Ras and then successfully defeating his cousin in 2 different battles. I might be wrong. I know it's at least 2 battles. And by him doing that, he prevented Ethiopia from joining World War I, or at that time known as the Great War. And if Ethiopia had joined or been pulled into World War I, Ethiopia would have been colonized from like 1916, 1917. And we don't even know what would have happened. For all I know, World War I could have went on additional 5 or 10 years.
Very astute. And there was a major battle. Ras Mikhael, when he got the news, he was not very happy. Or Negos Mikhael at that time, he was not very happy. That the Orthodox Church has sided with young Dejazmatch Tafari. He thought that, they thought that he would be okay because he was trying to counsel his son. He used to complain about Lijayasu and the lack of discipline. So, they said, well, let Ras Michael know. He was sent a letter. And all of this is documented in the autobiography. So, as a reading Ras, we always show, if you go to chapter 11 and 12 in the autobiography, this is detailed, the lead up, the indictment of Ayasu, why they took away his title, the evidence against him as to how he was trying to claim Islam. And at that time, Asian, you had to be, one of the line of Solomon, but also the faith of Christianity, Orthodox, Talayido Christianity. And anything other than that was not acceptable or tolerable. Dejayasu had a vision to proclaim his descent from both Muhammad and from Solomon. And, because he was not very stable, as Nigos Kamaal said, he was manipulated, by those around him, those seeking power. And there was an insurgency. The Lijayasu was rising armies. There was about a 4-year period before he was captured. After the war of Wallo for Addis Ababa, Lijayasu escaped. His father was captured. Lijayasu escaped and went to Harar, and then he was out in the outskirts in the Somali regions, and he was rising up rebellion. And in some time, he was eventually captured by the people of Tigray, the ruler of Tigray, one of the princes, captured him. And after that, His Majesty said the realm retained a certain level of peace that allowed him to continue on his development train. But talk to us about, this young Rastafari. I find that in our livity, there are a lot of false concepts that have crept in because we don't know the man. There's a lot of stagnation that has been with I because we have not followed the example. We are called by his name, and I say on this channel he was the most feared man on the planet, feared by his own people because of his mind. They could, he didn't think within the box. He always had something up his sleeve that baffled his enemies, and a point, he was, all of the races feared him. Talk to us about who was this young Ras, or what were some of the things that made him unique and remarkable?
Well, I would say His Imperial Majesty, or excuse me, at that time, when he was known as His Imperial Highness Rastafari Markinen.
Yes.
I would say the most revolutionary thing is not only creating a Rastafari movement, but the heights of all Pan-Africa. Because remember, in 1896, when his grand uncle, Menelik II, defeated the Italians, there was a lot of Africans in America, in Europe, as well as the Caribbean, that were becoming more Pan-African. But to see and know that there's a descendant of Emperor Menelik II, right, who's the regent. He wasn't even a king yet, but he was the regent, which means that he was the governing head of all Ethiopia. The imperial head was Empress Zauditu, but she didn't have any skills when it comes to diplomacy or business. She was more clerical. And answering your question, I would say when His Imperial Highness Rastafari sent the 4 diplomats to come to New York City, Washington, D.C., and Chicago, and I think it was a few other areas too. But those 3 areas, when he sent them to go to those 3 areas, these 4 diplomats, one of them is Herui, good friend of His Imperial Majesty, who unfortunately passed away in England. And it sent a shockwave to the Pan-African people.
What year are we talking about? What year are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about 1919. Thank you, brethren. Give thanks.
Okay, give
thanks.
Yes,
we have to always give thanks, really give thanks, because when we reason on events, it's important to speak on the date or the year. So 1916 is when the battles occur between Rastafari and Lijayasu. And one thing I left out is 1917 is when he was crowned, which is today, February 11th, 1917. Then you go in a few years into the a few years, 2 years later in 1919, Rastafari wasted no time. You started creating schools, but to let the whole world know he's not playing, he sent those 4 diplomats to America to create peace, I might be using the wrong words, but I guess he was trying to revisit a treaty with Emperor Menelik II, right? And what this did is it let the consciousness of black men and women in DC, New York, Chicago, other areas too, but those three major cities, that wow, the Bible is being fulfilled right in front of our eyes. Psalm 68, verse 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt, and Ethiopia shall soon stretch forth their hands unto God. You know, and since I'm on this subject, I have to add, give credit where it's always needed. Shout out to my brethren Rashumba, you know, from Guyana. He's in Brooklyn. He has shared with some and others with some of this information, and I encourage you to have him on the show. And I also hope that he'll be able to have other platforms to speak on that. And I say that because the brethren has been, I've heard about this truth about Rastafari having some potential roots in America, but the brethren, as well as others like Ross Iron and Eiley Kocher, and then there's Rashawn, these brethren are doing the research and sharing the right information. Now, we know Rastafari gets the liberty, the reggae, the roots, everything is Jamaica. You cannot deny that. But it has a strong connection in New York, DC, and Chicago. There's documents that shows that there are black men and women in DC, New York, Chicago, and also Pittsburgh too, that were citing this man named Rastafari. Kid you not, in 1920, and 1921. One man is Grover Redding. I don't want to get too much into details, to be honest. I might show one or two documents, but I prefer Brother Rashumba, Ross Floyd, speak on that. That's his corner. And Brother Rashawn, also a good brother from Guyana, he's shared some serious evidence that shows that Rastafari sent diplomats to America in 1922, right here in New York, to do what? To encourage Marcus Garvey to repatriate. And I mean, not him to repatriate, for Marcus Garvey to send skilled workers to repatriate to Africa. You know, because not everybody want to go to Africa. Some can, but some can't. Some just don't want to. But he encouraged for those that want to repatriate to return to Africa and build up Ethiopia from within. And there's a document on this.
I'm about to do a presentation. I don't know if they can see this.
Yes, sir.
This document, it's called Going to the Promised Land. It was written by William R. Scott, Afro-American Immigrants in Ethiopia from 1930 to 1935. So we're gonna do a whole presentation on the outreach of His Majesty to Black Americans. Again, this predates Shashamane. Land was granted, competitive salaries were offered, and you know the State Department blocked. You know, there was massive interest at the time, and there's a whole history that we don't know as Rastafari about Haile Selassie in the United States and the moves that he was making to try to break down those walls. But continue.
Yes, sir. So that and give thanks for sharing that, Bridget, because I never even heard about that document.
Okay.
You know,
yes,
each one teach one, reach one. I've heard that there is African black people in America that were repatriating, but you have the proof right there. So give thanks for it.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
And
no. Touch it. We're gonna touch it. There's so much history. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, the screen just went blank. Say it again.
No, I said there's so much history that we're going to touch. We haven't scratched the surface, but continue, because I have a lot of information yourself. Continue.
Yeah, so, well, like I said, each one teach one, reach one. I have information because I like to collect articles and archives, just like any other person. But I did put a lot of time and finance into this. But I have to shout out those were my sources. Some of my sources is not only Dr. Biddy, who showed me etymology, and also Dr. McPherson, but Rashawn, who I just mentioned about that document. That document of 1922, it confirms and lets ones know and say these negative things. Well, I've dealt with it a lot, and especially in Harlem. You know, I love my brethren and sistren, but on 125th, when you speak about Rastafari, some of them don't want to hear it. And, you know, lately it's a little easier, but I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago, brethren, some people don't want to hear it. But now that there's evidence, there's a document out there, there's a newspaper article that shows that Rastafari sent a messenger to come to Harlem to encourage Marcus Garvey to send skilled workers to repatriate. And I'm paraphrasing, but the emperor, then known as Rastafari, did say that there's a home for black people in Africa, in Ethiopia. You know, I don't know any other black African leader at that time, especially that had an influence on blacks in America, and that's encouraging them to return to Africa. That's Rastafari. This is the 1920s. This is 103 years ago. This happened. And this is something that's, to me, that's one of the greatest discoveries I've ever heard of. I didn't make the discovery or that article, but my brethren saw that and he shared it. And we have to look into that and say, now that we know that the emperor, we know in our hearts that the emperor stands for repatriation, reparations, but to see it in the 1920s, and then to also know that it's black Americans that were inspired to follow the emperor Rastafari from 1919 and 1920 with the names of Reverend James Webb in New York City, and then you have Grover Redding in Chicago, and the other names I'll keep that. I won't say that. I'll let Brother Rashumba speak more detail on that, because we have to let it be known that the black community here in New York and Chicago had a major impact on Rastafari, because when Leonard Percival Howell, who's titled as the first Rasta, was right here in New York, it's been said that he went to not DC, he went to Kingston, he went to Jamaica, and it's documented in the Gleaner that he said that he was inspired by the Rastafarites in America. You know, and we're not showing no proof of this. Reason why I'm speaking on this is because this is in a time frame between 1960 and 1928. But again, anybody that wants real truth on all that, go check Ras Shumba, go check Rashawn when it comes to more of them documents, because we have to have a large think tank with Rastafari.
Yeah,
and let it be known that all roads.
I've reasoned with Ross Floyd, other ones, so we're gonna line up some of those brethren to talk about that history.
Yes,
we have so much information to share, but in terms of how Rastafari treaded, what lessons do you think it has for the young brethren who are coming up within the Livity that they can learn? And if you haven't seen my episode from Saturday, where we list out some of the achievements of Rastafari between that time period, all of that can be found in the autobiography, from the building of roads, the hospitals, the expansion of education in Ethiopia, the importation of arms for the military, setting up of military schools, every facet, the importation of the printing presses, similar to what we see with Ibrahim Traore now with this rapid slate of development, but think about it on even a wider scale, because Majesty was touching every facet of development as soon as he had the power to do so, and one of the reasons that he gained the favor of the church was from the work that he did in Harar. At each stage of his matriculation through the government system, His Majesty excelled exceedingly in terms of inputting modern systems of things that improve efficiency, improve revenue generation, because His Majesty was all about the revenue generation And this is one of the reasons why, some of the Pan-Africans call His Majesty a sellout and these things, because he's opening the country to European investment, and, mining in the mining sector during this period, and other, importation of airplanes. You're starting to see more European royalty visiting the country. And these are the things that, cause some of the doubters and the peepers to really doubt His Majesty, not seeing the big picture, not knowing the realities of what it takes to actually build a nation at that scale and at that speed. And His Majesty knew the attack would come. He was doing his best, to try to build the modern infrastructure before the attack. But of course, the beast shall make war with the lamb. So 5 years, less than 8 years after, he becomes Ras. The ending, no, hold on, from 1917 to 1935 is how much years?
1917 to 35. What is that? That's
Yes.
You there? Okay. No, the screen just froze. You said 1917 to 35.
Yes. Yeah.
Sound.
Can you hear I?
Yeah, the sound was just going in and out for a second. I don't know if it's my phone.
Okay. No, I'm saying that the point
You hear
is, the point is, I don't want straight reasoning, but the point is that we have things that are happening, you know what I mean? Yeah, we have things that are happening. Don't worry, family. We put there was some loose argument, loosey goosey in the chat. We put that person in a timeout, just balance up the irids to come forward. But continue. We don't have a lot of time, family, but this is just part one. But what I want to really get to is the importance of this date. How do we see it fitting in, and what are the lessons? You're a father, you have many children. What are the lessons from this crowning day that we can learn, and how do we transmit this to another generation coming up?
Well, I would say, me being a father, I would say it's focus on what the emperor always focused on most, especially for youth, which is education. According to Nibing, we need food. We focus, may the sick be nourished, age protected, and infants cared for, and the elderly taken care of, and the uneducated educated. And you can't forget the last one, because His Imperial Majesty is the Minister of Education. And he made sure that that's his personal title. So it's very important for all of our youths to be.
I'm going to need you to rewind that one more time, because I love this.
Yeah,
I love
my screen froze.
Yeah. I'm going to need you to repeat everything you said. Big up yourself, Montague, Yorick. We need European progress only because we are surrounded by it. That is once a benefit and a misfortune. And it's very important, because a lot of people talk out of theory, this Pan-African idealist theory, and don't realize the reality of trying to build anything. You can't stop what people are doing externally. You can only control yourself. And His Majesty didn't come into the world in a place where there was no European domination, the scramble for Africa, the Berlin Conference. There are certain moves on the chessboard that you have to make. Sometimes there's not a great decision to make. Sometimes it's two bad decisions, but you got to make that decision to get down the road to make the right decision for that right time. You know what I mean? So people don't overstand these things because we have a lot of armchair Pan-Africanists, and I mean, if you run any organization, if you run a family, you realize sometimes you have to make hard choices that someone from the outside will look at and maybe say, Ray, but they don't know the information that caused you to make that decision. And His Majesty had to navigate not just the Europeans, but he also had to navigate the nobility. Ras Haile of Gojam did not like His Majesty. And there were other leaders that did not like His Majesty. There were also the church itself. His Majesty was making reforms in the church. So there was elements of the church that were against His Majesty. There were elements of the foreign legion. You had foreign royalty that was against His Majesty. So every level of the society, His Majesty, as we can see even now in Ethiopia, the tribalism, the deep tribalism, His Majesty had to combat all of these things, before the internet. So serious thing, you know what I mean? But I want to, before we seal up again, just give us an idea, for part 2 of this reasoning. What are some of the documents that you have encountered on your journey that make you, marvel in terms of the works of Kadamawi, Haile Selassie during those early days? We're gonna.
Yeah,
This is
what? Oh, sorry. What were you saying? No,
I said this is a teaser. This episode
yeah, I'm
is just a
saying
teaser.
one of the yeah, the one article that stands out is, unfortunately, it's one that I don't even physically have. It's one that was circulating on the internet. The one that Rashawn showed, expressing that Rastafari actually sent diplomats to encourage Pan Africans to return to Ethiopia. That's one of the greatest facts I've ever seen. And another would be, information that's associated with the coronation, because look how many countries came to the coronation. Look at all those nations that bowed down to His Imperial Majesty. They could not even deny, and this is 1930 we're talking about, a time when I'm lynching black people all over the place in America, but yet the same people that are lynching us and beating us down in America, England, the Caribbean, they came and honored the African king. So any information dealing with that, the oldest article I have on His Imperial Majesty is actually from 1916. It's actually sitting right here, but I was just taking a picture. I was gonna send it and use it for now, but we're gonna use this information next time, as the I said, and that is one of the documents I would say that stands out because it's anciency. I have documents from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s of the emperor, but there's only one document I've ever seen from the 1910s, and it tells you that this man named Dejazmatch is not the emperor of Ethiopia. I mean, not the emperor. He's not the emperor, and he's not going to be the leader. It's going to be Rastafari. He's the cousin of who's sitting on the throne, Empress Zaudatu. Like you can't make this up. They didn't have any interviews, no articles much on Empress Zaudatu, but she was the empress. The focus and the spotlight was all on Rastafari from day one. They knew he was the leader. Like, I got the article right here. It tells you there was a conflict between Rastafari and Dejazmatch. And I think Europeans were so magnified at this to see that here's two leaders of the same country that are actually related, and they all have arms. It's not just swords and spears, but they have arms. And they tried to manipulate one to join their side to bring Ethiopia into the World War I. But here's an African leader that was able to prevent it from happening by using some of the knowledge and the tactics of the Europeans, knowing their language, knowing their politics, even knowing their form of Christianity. So that's some documents. I have a document from Ebony magazine. I know it's not related to the subject matter, but I gotta say it tells you that Ebony magazine is aware that there's lies said of His Imperial Majesty. You know, and that article is from the 1950s, I believe. And there's a lot of iTrits images of the emperor that always stands out. Not just the coronation, all the crownings of the emperor. Every time he's wearing something royal, it always stands out because he's sending a message. He's letting it be known that the Almighty is on earth, and I'm going to teach everybody how to be obedient and have love with each other, and no colonization, no slavery, no wickedness, no thieving, and making sure that everybody has access to food, clothing, and shelter. I do have a document. There's a book I want to show too. Next time we have the part two, the Dejazmatch Kwasi. It tells you that Rastafari was interviewed by a European person here
Give thanks for your patience,
in
family.
America.
One of those nights, but we're pushing through. Say it
The
again,
person went
Fire.
to Ethiopia and was interviewing Rastafari. And His Imperial Highness actually asked to interview. And the person that's interviewing him tried to, switch up the conversation, reaching for the coffee and having a sip and trying to avoid.
Wow. So it's one of those nights, and let me just say this, because we ended up removing one of our moderator, remove someone from the chat, and this is a platform where you can disagree, but it has to be a high vibration disagreement. The brethren was calling names and being very derogatory in the chat, so we're not going to take time because it becomes a distraction to deal with that, and it lowers the entire vibration. So in those cases, those comments will be removed. If you have a disagreement about the sources, or we love that over here. This is the iron sharpen iron arena, and what I mean. We're not going to, unity does not mean uniformity. That is a chant that we chant on this platform. So there's no mandate that everyone has to think as I and I think, and we bring ones who have very different worldview. That is not a problem. But again, if you come on the platform with the name calling, the low vibration, and you look attention because your woman don't hug you up at night time, we're gonna ban you because we don't have time for that. Big people place. All right, continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sorry. You can hear I?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the service was coming in and out.
Yes, yes. We're gonna wrap up.
Yeah,
I do have another meeting, but I couldn't make this day pass, and we don't talk about the crowning. This was the official crowning. So September 27th, 1916, that is the ascension. That's when the declaration, everything was made. But the ceremony, the unveiling to the world of Rastafari, a name that was shook the whole earth. You know what I mean? When you call him Rastafari, watch a weak heart tremble. He then don't like John name. The movement became known after this date. You know what I mean? So 1916, before 1916, there was nothing named Rastafari that we knew about on the face of the earth. 1915, this sound becomes stamped in the earth. So I think it's a date that we should celebrate. I want to hear from the Lion Pride in the chat. How they feel, if it's a day that should be celebrated just like coronation, just like the birth of His Majesty, just like Gena, just like Ethiopia New Year. We have to establish our own calendar. We are stepping out of Babylon, and Babylon Isla days, or holy days, as they call them, to create our own Isla days, our own alternative. So as we do that, as we now have our own media platform, Rastafari Independent non-aligned media. And I just saw a headline today that for the first time, more people are watching YouTube on their TV than on their phone. You know what I mean? So YouTube and watching, this is becoming the new cable. This is the new form that everybody's watching. So we have to be in this space, and I want to big up everyone who has been supporting. We're about to get a brand new camera so that we can have top quality imagery, and that's being purchased through the support of the Lion Pride. So big up the Lion Pride on Patreon, the economic engine. We are reinvesting 100% of the funds that we generate from this platform, because we're committed to building a world-class Rastafari independent media platform. Because as this Armageddon unfolds, things get rocky. We need our own voice. We can't be waiting to have the reasonings and the discussion to go on this person platform. We're waiting for 5 minutes on that person platform. No, we need to have our own, again, world-class platforms that are telling our story. So I want to give the eye a chance to, again, what are some of the unique characteristics of Rastafari? Because I don't want us to, when we think about Rastafari, there's the movement, but the movement is named after the man. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of our young brethren lack confidence because they don't really know about the man. And when you talk about the man in the Pan-African circles and you're not firm, they will tear you down. You know what I mean? They tell you all type of propaganda, and easily dismantle. I love to dismantle the propaganda. I'm built for that. But if you don't arm yourself with the knowledge and the information, then somebody can tell you His Majesty is a sellout, and you feel bad because you see with Charles de Gaulle and you see a street named Churchill Street and you don't know why the chess move was made, or you're not seeing the big picture, so it make you a little shaky within your reasoning. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that we know who the man is. Continue.
Your brethren, you touched some major points, brethren, because enough reasonings I have had, fire. I'm not talking about with Rastafari. I'm talking about with professional people, big places, and the reasoning could go this way or it could go that way. And when it goes wrong on another person's part, I have to say, wait, what makes you think that the emperor is a coward? What makes you think that the emperor is a sellout? What makes you think that the emperor embezzled money? All this garbage talk, brethren. It's not me trying to challenge it. It makes no striking sense with all these foolish things they have to say. And they have nothing to say about Mengistu, nothing to say about Mussolini, nothing to say about Guksa, nothing to say about Mikhail. I mean, it's them, the bad guys. They have nothing to say about them. But His Imperial Majesty, who created schools, business, bank, airline, all these things, they have nothing to say in that. Oh, but he starved the people. Nonsense. Nonsense. Not coming from me. That's coming from the people in Ethiopia. Like I told you, Bridge, over 15, almost 20 years ago, around the time I met my cousin, may he rest in peace, Dr. McPherson. I remember reasoning with so many brethren and sistren on 125th Street in Harlem, and they think Haile Selassie, oh, he's a sellout. He's a pup. No, brethren. I have to challenge that. And though the days are gone when I used to have to always walk with my bag and the dictionary and all this book and that book, everything is on this now. Everything is all on the phone.
But so this is why, remember that Babylon deals with character assassination. If the people knew the truth about the emperor, the whole Pan-African movement would be different. You know what I mean? But they have to deal with character assassination. You know what I mean? So we have to be armed. And this is one of the things I want to do with this channel, is arm our young people, and even some of the warrior them, arm them with facts and information so that they dig deeper. Because a lot of us just surface on the emperor and we say he's the almighty, and then we go on to some other doctrine and get deep into that. We don't take the time to really go. You can't surface
It's
study the emperor.
it,
That tell you
it's
that.
the same thing with trying to trash the Bible. Like what? Yo, Fireman, that's a whole nother subject, brethren. I get it how some brethren don't want to deal with the Bible. Fine, but trying to challenge the order itself and an individual for citing the Bible and making him or her life better. Come on, man, that's foolishness. That's complete foolishness. Especially because not only the emperor read and studied the Bible is fulfilled. The prophecies are fulfilled through the emperor's existence. You know, and like the I say, Bridget, you can't even, the Bible's completely pointless without Ethiopia existence inside of the Bible. Completely pointless. You know, from Genesis 2:13, Amos 9:7, Esther 1 verse 1, Jeremiah 13 verse 23. Hope somebody's taking notes because you look at all those lines there, is where Ethiopia is referenced. Isaiah chapter 18 verse 1, Isaiah chapter 20 verse 3, 4, and 5. Everywhere where Ethiopia is mentioned, 9 out of 10 times it's showing the standard, the status, the anciency, the teachings come. I mean, even Moses learned from Ethiopians. You know, as it's, you know, we you know this. I'm preaching to the choir, but somebody out there is probably thinking, "Wow, I heard those Rastafarian people are pagan. They believe that this guy Haile Selassie is God's." Like, yeah, and why not? Why not? Why not? Because he fulfilled not prophecies only in the Bible, even sourced in ancient Kemet. The emperor has a connection to all faiths. The emperor is the founder of Pan Africa by unifying all those African nations, creating the OAU.
The highest of himself shall establish it, shall establish her. So that history cannot be erased. We can't erase the history that, when Africa's back was against the wall, it was a king from the line of King Solomon and King David that was triumphant against colonialism, at the Battle of Adwa. We can't change that history. We might not like it. It might be uncomfortable, but it can't change. That's etched. The Almighty, who wrote this grand story of life that we are living, ordained it as such. And so, His Majesty didn't come as a conquering lion of Kemet, He came as a conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. And these are the facts that cannot be erased. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of ones, and, who would want to just throw away that side. But again, I think when you go deep into the history again of who is Rastafari, I think the more that we get closer to that, the more progress we're going to see within the Livity, because all about Rastafari was all about building institutions, and that's what I really want to drill down. If you call yourself a Ras, you need to be building institutions straight. Some kind of way. I don't care if it's a soccer club. I don't care if it's a ITAL Bakers Association, but if you are a RAS, you should be establishing institutions. You should be governing your region, even if it's hierarchically, settling disputes, making yourself a useful and productive part of the society. A RAS is not just a man where, say, Jah Rastafari, sit down and smoke a spliff and listen reggae music. You know what I mean? And
yes, sir.
This is why I say Rastafari is not a religion, but it's a standard. You understand? That's why some people don't like Ras. Because
yes,
we're establishing a Rastafari man standard here. Because the loosey-goosey, this is the anti-loosey-goosey channel. And, we want to see progress. We want to see the glory that awaits us. We see Africa rising, and there's no way Rastafari will not be in the midst and at the head, leading the charge culturally, and being that bulwark against tribalism. There's no way, So we're preparing for that reality, and we give thanks for ones like the I, who have been continuing to research. Again, this is part one, family. I do have another reasoning, so we're going to seal up. I'm going to give you a chance. Say your final sound, Nigos, Kamaal, and we're gonna bring the brethren forward with his documents so he can go through. He has a vast archive of documents. He shared some with I, rare documents. You know, New York, they have the Schomburg, they have all kind of places up there. The brethren takes his time, he goes and he researches. So we're gonna bring that element to the platform. This was part one, just to start the reasoning and to do something to commemorate the day. Today is Rastafari Day, in the sense that we are celebrating the crowning of Ras. The official crowning was today. We'll also be celebrating September 27th, yes. But today, family, put some respect on the name, the new name, you know, terrible and dreadful, one to be feared. You know what I mean? He who inspires the great and thunderable King of Mount Zion. Final sound, Migos, Kamaal. Final sound, Migos, Kamaal. This is one of those days, family. The Wi-Fi not cooperating. Wi-Fi the guy. Sometimes he wants to star in the program. So you know what I mean. We working on
All
it.
right,
We'll
you're
let
right.
it. Yes, I final sound.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the phone just locked off again. Trust me, I'm gonna make sure that this it doesn't like this next time. um, Final sound. I would say I did want to touch on what I was saying about when people say that the emperor is a sellout for dealing with people like Charles de Gaulle or Kennedy or Eisenhower or even Queen Elizabeth. You know,
Yes.
we know a lot of them could be good and a lot of them are negative and wicked in their own ways, as Elizabeth. Trust me, I know. But it's called diplomacy. You see, me, in the last 2 years, I've been going to Mayor Eric Adams' office to deal with Rastafari matters. I'm not no Democrat. I am not Republican. I am not conservative or what I call it, independent. I don't care about none of those political parties. I'm doing diplomatic works to see what programs I can get for I youths in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Harlem. Those three areas have a lot of violence in our communities, and the youths can do better when you show them Rastafari. You show them the roots of all this Christianity and Judaism. Show them the roots. Show them why it's good for them to continue to go out them Nazi and eat Ital, you know? And I'm just gonna seal up on that, and we'll talk more on some of those things and the works that I'm doing, and hopefully I can get more Rastafari on board because we do need community centers in here, especially New York. And
Definitely.
give thanks for the word sound, brethren.
Yeah, man. And we'll ask the guy to talk. The brethren is also a prison chaplain going into the prison system in New York. So we can talk more about the Rastafari that are, you know, in these institutions. You know, it's a fast growing population of ones who going in that are embracing Rastafari, and there's a need to service them. So we'll talk about that with the brethren. We also have Ross Floyd, that will bring in to talk about that as well, and others. Queen Mother Moses is here. Big up yourself, Queen Mother Moses, who has recently joined the Lion Pride on Patreon. She put her money where her mouth is. Big up yourself, Queen Mother Moses. If you haven't seen Queen Mother Moses episode, watch it on the Lion Voice Live. Go to our website. Go to the YouTube page, and if you scroll across the top to where it says live, that's where you can find this episode and all of the live episodes. It's different than where you click video and you see the pre-recorded videos and the clips. So for those who are looking for the lives, the past lives, you can find them on the home page on YouTube. Again, click on the live tab and you'll see all of those programs. I want to give thanks to everyone again. We have passed 27,000. We are racing to 30,000. We just hit 25,000 and we're about to hit 30,000 already. We're lining up a special guest. You know, every 10,000 we had Muta Baruka, we had Kabaka Pyramid. We're lining up a special guest for the 30,000. So we'll have that to drop. We got some big interviews to drop for the rest of this month. Some surprises in there. March, all Rastafari women all month for Women's History Month. And then we'll seal up
Yes,
with the
sir.
Empress Men panel. So stay tuned for that. Keep it locked. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media. We are also raising money to upgrade our equipment. So if you want to support the new camera that is coming down the pipeline, become part of the Ubuntu, $70 and up, become part of the Ubuntu Lion Pride. Join the Lion Pride on Patreon. Let us build this world-class apparatus. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion Voice.
Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Selassie represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
Yo! Blazing fire, yeah man, this is Racindio out of Belize. And the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. Right? Yeah man. We blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Racindio said that. Blazing fire, lion boy.
The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
Yo, this is Pagabens and time have come for the lion to tell them own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Stay tuned.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use a yet an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
Now drop your guard when it come to them, ya youth, ya. Them fully guard up and them quick fi execute, ya. Now drop your guard when it come to them, ya youth, ya. The one will laugh, I'm same one of the shooter. Watching them, this is Rasta Jai representing for the Lion Voice Network. This is the time when the lion gets to tell our own story. Haile Selassie.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.